Marc Jackson, NBC Sports Philadelphia pre- and post-game live. Analyst had a passionate conversation last night post-game after the Sixers fall a 26-point lead and after a night before when they blow an 18-point lead. Egregious both. But what's the pattern? What keeps happening? Is there something that happens in both of those games that we can correlate back to? Let's bring Marc Jackson in to the conversation here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. And Mark, you blow two leads like that in the second half when you have a chance to take advantage of this. Do you see any correlation from Game 4 and Game 5? Is there something that happened in both of those games, or are these two totally different scenarios?
Well, I think when Atlanta went on a run both times, is with the bench. It wasn't with the Sixers starters. It wasn't with Atlanta starters. The comeback was done when the Sixers had their bench in the game. Atlanta had their reserves in the game. That's when that run happened. So that's the correlation that worries me. Because you got to play your bench. It's not like you say, well, you know what, we're not playing our bench no more. That never works out.
Right, and I know that people are saying you stuck with that bench unit too long. He did play them in the first half, and he said we got some good stuff from them in the second half. Did he stick with them too long? Or should you do what the Nets did the night before and just say, guys, Game 5 is the most important. I need you to give me everything you got tonight to the starters?
You know what? Listen, I was impressed with seeing KD play 48 minutes because that's a lot to ask on a guy for an NBA game to play the entire game. And I don't know if Joel Embiid has that in him physically to play 48 minutes. But I wouldn't be opposed to, like, say, Ben, you just let me, or Joel, you just let me know when you're tired. You come out for a minute. You let me know when you go right back in. Because it's almost like that's what you have to do. Even though the bench played pretty good throughout the course of the regular season, I just am worried that's two straight games when Atlanta goes to their bench and Sixers go to their bench, bad things happen for the Sixers.
Yeah, and obviously there's a couple things that bad things were last night. I guess everybody today is looking at Ben Simmons and the lack of shots, the 4 for 14. Now, we've had people come on and say, look, the Sixers, they account for his poor free throw shooting and the lack of offense. They don't really ask him to score. But when Tobias Harris only gives you 4, they find that to be a bigger problem. Like, I think they're both 1 and 1A. I mean, Ben Simmons I thought was terrible last night late in that game. But does Doc Rivers have his hands tied with a guy that he is backed? He's almost gone too far. He can't turn his back on him now, or can he?
You can't. You can't turn your back on Ben Simmons, especially if he's one of your big guys like you. So, for example, you know he went away from Shake in a couple of games. You could do that to somebody like Shake, because Shake's a rotation guy. You know, you're going to go with somebody off the bench. But when you're big three, you cannot do that to them, because if you look like you're losing confidence in them, they're no more good for you the rest of the series and maybe the remainder of the playoffs. And then that's a bond that you'll put on that guy's back, saying, okay, you're our franchise guy, but you know what? We're going to start sitting you because you're not playing well. I don't think you can do that to Ben Simmons. I think you got to ride with him, and hopefully he plays well for you. If you start sitting him because he's not playing well, not hitting foul shots, I think that's a hole that's going to be hard to dig out of.
Right. I mean, so if you're in that situation, though, they start to hack a Ben or he's not shooting well from the free throw line, like, how do you tiptoe around that? I mean, do you just keep him out there and say if he misses, he misses?
That's the thing. You can't. It's like, listen, I'm not opposed to pulling Ben there, because I think a guy's mentality determines how he's going to come through for you. And I really believe that it was Ben, when they get the hacker Ben, I really think it bothers them mentally. And the game is 80% mental. And if you're one of your main guys, your primary ball handler is not being aggressive because mentally he's kind of, what, are they going to foul me? What's going to happen when they foul me? I think it bothers the team. And I think it causes problems throughout for the whole team as a whole. So I really believe you got to go with your gut and say, you know what, Ben, I'm going to pull you now, and hopefully we can right this ship without you for these couple of minutes. But with that being said, that hacker Ben and Ben shooting 4 times a game is a correlation that we can't ignore. We just can't.
Well, the 4, you went off on this last night, and I give you credit. You said, I'll be the bad guy. He only shot 4 times. He scored 8 points. His average is 13. But obviously they needed more from him last night. I want to ask you as a player, like, all right, you see this guy Simmons. You've got to be frustrated to all hell. do the players get to him and say, dude, we need more? Like, because obviously the coaches don't get to him, or like, how does somebody get to him to give you more than what you're getting?
Here's the thing. I think it's a fine line because as a player, you don't want to kind of rub your teammates the wrong way because then it causes friction in the locker room that could destroy the chemistry that you have as a team. But with that being said, I think Joel has calling them out a few times this season. Hey, we need you to shoot that. Hey, we need you to be aggressive. I think the last 3 years, Joel has suddenly called him out and asked for him. He needs more. And say, hey, we need him to be aggressive. Hey, we need him to shoot the three. Hey, we need him to shoot the jump shot. We need him. Joel has did that on numerous amount of occasions throughout the season and like the last previous 2 seasons. So I think as a player, if you have a bond that connects with a guy, you have the right to do that. And I think Joel has done it.
Yeah, the look in Joel's face last night, Mark, was almost like, we're not good enough. I know we're not good enough. I could see we're not good enough because the guy who wrote shotgun next to me all year didn't bring it last night, and that was Tobias Harris. I mean, a minute 17, he's got to drive to the baseline, and he threw that thing out of his hand like a hot potato, and Joel said, no, you take it because I'm triple-teamed, and Harris wanted no part of that. And I mean, that's the play where he loses the ball and they replay it, but I mean, Harris scores 4 points in the game. Here's a guy who scores 21, and he's 17 off his average. It's tough to make up for that.
It is. It is. Joel is playing extraordinarily, outstanding. He's demonstrated he's unguardable. But I think for 2 straight games, Joel has ran out of steam. I really believe he's ran out of steam because he's putting this team on his back. And I think when it push comes to shove, I don't think he's getting enough help. Now, with that being said, offensively, there's different ways to look at this. People say, Joel and Seth was hot, so we just put that hot hand. That's one way to look at it. But then the other way to look at it is like, hold on now. Joel and Seth pretty much got all the touches in the second half. So everybody else got cold. We need to feed everybody else so when their number is called, when it's their time, they can come through for you. So like 2 different ways you can look at it. And it's like either way, both of them should equal to success. But unfortunately, for 2 straight games, it hasn't appeared that way.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because somebody brought that up earlier to me and said, about Tobias. And I said, well, they're not calling plays for him because they didn't trust him down the stretch? Was that why they didn't call his number?
Now, listen, I'm a big believer in Tobias. I think Tobias is a great Robin to a Batman. But what I will say this, I've come to learn Tobias is a system player, which means Tobias is never going to have a mentality where he's going to break an offensive play to go get a bucket. He's not that kind of guy. He's just, if you call his number, he's going to go attempt to get you a bucket. And I think that hurts when your number's not called and you're not a player that's going to go get it. With that being said, that makes you have to, as a coach, you have to call his number because you know he's not going to break a play. So when Joel is going, Tobias like, okay, Joel, you got to go and just go do your thing. Go do your thing. But now you go 4 or 5 times down the floor with Tobias not being involved.
Yeah.
Now you want him to score. It's like, well, I've been sitting, I've been waiting. So now I'm kind of cold. So it's like, there's the problem. Do we keep feeding Joel? Do we get called Tobias' number in the middle of that? That's the thing that Coach Doc Rivers has to find out.
Couple minutes here with Marc Jackson, NBC Sports Philadelphia pre- and post-game analyst for Sixers pre- and post-game live tomorrow night for Sixers Game 6. What could the Sixers have done? They were abusing Seth Curry on defense. I mean, everybody says Curry played great because he scores 36. We failed to mention he got destroyed on the other side of the court. How could they have maybe done something differently to help Curry out?
I just think the way, listen, I get acknowledging that we're Phillies, so we're boxing fans. You put a right-hand guy with a great hook in a ring with a very skilled fighter, he still has a chance because he has that great right hook, meaning he has a puncher's chance. The thing about Atlanta is they shoot the ball so well. They have so many guys that can shoot the ball with lights-out tendencies that they always have a puncher's chance to come back, or they're never fully out of a game. And that's what's going on. They got all the shooters. So, I know they said they abuse Seth, but also you got to keep in mind, they just got too many darn shooters.
Yeah.
So since you got all those shooters, you just don't know what's going to happen. And that's what's coming to play. So Steph is not really being abused. I really believe it's just a mixture of them having so many shooters that it kind of hurts them.
Is this team missing Danny Green?
Absolutely. 100%. Why? He's a 3-time champion. Why? Every scenario he's been part of. Why? Because even when he's not making a shot, he spaces the floor as a decoy because he has so many, he's a good three-point shooter. Even when he's off, you're afraid to leave him. So when he's not on the floor, no matter how great Furkan is shooting the ball or whatever, it still limits your driving lanes, your spacing, because no matter if Furkan's out there or Matisse is out there, you're going to find a way to cheat off of those guys and clog the lane. So it makes it difficult for everybody else.
Larry Brown was on a podcast with John Clark over at NBC. He said something interesting about Ben Simmons. He says, I would tell him, I trust your ass. If you miss free throws or you miss a shot, it's on my ass for playing you. So what do you have to lose? Is that a message that you think would work for Ben? Like, hey, just play free and go out there. Can that message get through, or is he past the point of a pep talk or a coach pulling it out of him?
No, I think he's past that. I think you're past that, somebody pulling it out of him. It's like it's in you or it's not. And I'm not saying he can't adjust, but asking him to adjust right now is a very difficult ask. And I'll be concerned that he's able to do that now.
Mark, it's crazy. I YouTubed Ben Simmons Summer League highlights. And in the Summer League, his rookie year, his first time down the court, he pulled up from the elbow and drained an elbow jumper. And after that, I've never seen it again. It's unbelievable. But, hey, that's not who he is. And I think the Sixers have accepted that. But if they lose this series, will they accept Ben Simmons on this team, or will they have to look to change this thing up?
Well, I don't think I don't know if you can say change it up. I think you would make adjustments. I think every locker room, and after every last game of the season, if you're not winning the championship, and even if you do win a championship, they're always looking to do something different to improve their team. And they feel as though a move can be made to improve their team, they're going to look at that. But you got to also say, if a guy's under contract, it's hard to trade a guy. So you can say, oh, we just get rid of him. Yeah, well, if you don't want him, what makes you think somebody else wants him for what his contract says? You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah,
so
definitely.
It's not easy to make moves. It's not easy to make moves and to say, oh, we could just make this adjustment, or we could just make this. It's not easy to say that because everybody's thinking the same thing. And your value is how much you're getting paid for a job that you're doing.
Mark, last one. What adjustment for Game 6 do they have to make?
They have to make the adjustment of finishing games, finishing possessions. You got to start in the fourth quarter like you started the game. Free. My favorite line is live like a bird, free, flying and doing your thing. And you got to be free, and no matter what. But one thing that prevents you from being as free as that is when you got to guess, well, maybe we should pull this guy because he's not doing that. Maybe we should pull that guy. Maybe this guy won't hit this shot now. That's important to understand that you have to just go out there and play free and tell them guys, look, this is basketball. You're getting paid to win games. But during that process of winning games, you got to just go out there and be who you are and not worry about making a miss a shot. And when they can do that, go out and just be and have fun in the game while attempting to win, everything will be fine. But until then, it's going to be a constant struggle.
All right, Friday night, Game 6, NBC Sports has pre- and post-game. Marc Jackson, the coach, and Amy Fadul. He is Marc Jackson at Jacko2544. Mark, thanks so much, man.
Thank you, guys. Good being with you.